Hi, my name is Vaughn. This is my plant presentation of my tomato plant. First, I will begin by talking about how the first week went. A couple days after planting the seeds and starting the growing journey, I had not seen a sign of life. At this point, I thought it was doomed, but by the end of the week, I noticed some growth. My expectations were a bit too high going into this. Thankfully, I didn't kill the plant by watering it too much, and we can see what I saw at the end of the first week. Jumping ahead a few weeks, we can see a shocking amount of growth within the span of 1 week. Skipping forward once again to something notable, in week 9 I discovered that the plant had begun the fruiting process. A week or two before this, the plant began to flower, which can be seen in these images. As we can see here, the plant has germinated significantly since week 9. At its current state, the tomatoes have not yet fully grown, but have gained some size in the past 3 weeks. In the middle, I've provided an image of what I can expect in the coming weeks before the redness of the tomato appears. In this slide, we can see all the locations of the plant. For the first 4 weeks, I had it sitting on the windowsill, which is where I would have preferred having it, but after repotting it, it was too big, so I had to find another spot. This other spot was my backyard, which was placed on a very old and wobbly table, so that was a gamble. In retrospect, I probably should have just put it on the ground, but I like the idea of having it up and out of the way. As we can see here, I put an enclosure around the plant, for obvious reasons like pests. Also, I put a 30-pound bag of kitty litter in there so it would not fly away during high winds or be knocked over easily. Some things I learned about plant growing include the struggles of growing a plant. Simple things like giving it water when it needs it and taking it out of the sun when it has had enough. In addition, I learned some problem-solving skills, and that I knew that keeping it outside exposed to everything was a little risky, so I enclosed it, as well as weighing it down so it doesn't end up swimming in the pond. I have also learned some anatomy of the tomato plant, such as the stem having a woody appearance, and that tomato plants have compound leaves, typically having 5 to 7 leaflets. Here I will explain some of the things I felt I did correct. For one, I feel like I gave the plant enough water and sunlight. Keyword enough there, because as I said before, it was on life support. I also protected the plant with the use of an enclosure. This kept away a lot of the pests that I've seen on my porch. The 30-pound bag of kitty litter also took care of any high winds, like what we saw at the beginning of this month. Lastly, I documented the growth and key developments when there were any. Now I'll cover what I feel I did wrong. For one, I waited a bit too long to repot it, and I could see that in the nutrient deficient color that the plant was displaying. But the biggest mistake I think I made was when I overwatered it that first week, because I was fearful that I wasn't giving it enough, so I gave it too much. To be honest, I didn't like the idea of having to grow a plant on top of all my other work, but to my surprise, it was actually pretty enjoyable. I liked walking outside and seeing that the plant had grown from the day before and seeing the tomatoes starting to sprout. I will definitely keep growing this thing, and once the tomatoes are ripe, eat them. I now realize how difficult it would be to grow all of my plants at once and harvest the food from them. That being said, I'm very thankful that I live in a time where I don't have to do that. Also, I have found an appreciation for plants themselves and our environment. Something that surprised me was the speed of my plant's growth. At the beginning, I thought that I would not see any growth at all, which led to me overwatering it. Soon enough though, the growth proliferated and I was surprised at my progress. Another surprise was the plant that I was growing. At first I thought it was a marigold, but then I quickly found out that I was wrong and that it was a tomato plant. Stupid! Luckily I picked the right seed packet. Last thing to cover is the questions I had originally that were left unanswered. First question is, how much does this plant need in regards to sunlight? I never actually ended up looking it up, and I would just eyeball it. So I gave it about 7 to 8 hours and called it good. Another question I had was, how long do tomato plants last? That also never got Googled. And that's the end of my presentation.